Hello, good morning. Um, so the title of this talk this morning is "What Do We Know for Sure?" And um, first of all, I don't even know why I'm doing this, and which is the craziest thing. I just feel like this year has all been about getting in a place where I can carry a message of something for people, and I'd like it to be a message of hope. And yet, when I ask the question, "Tell me what we know for sure," as I actually asked this morning, I texted about 35 people, and I said, "What do you know for sure? Tell me, what do you know for sure?" And you know, some of them responded with some different things, but all of them, that responded got down to that we didn't really know anything. They couldn't think of anything that they knew for sure. Even they weren't sure that they didn't know anything for sure. And so, what does that mean? It means that when we're not kind of in that place of contemplation, of thinking of that kind of a question, we're acting out of what? We're acting out of beliefs. We're acting out of fears. We're acting out of you know conditioned cultural ideas, and so we're not really tuning in to what's happening in the moment. And it seems to me, my experience has been that when I accept that I don't really know, and that when I tune in and connect with Source in each moment, that and have a yes to what seems to want to happen, that I can be part of something as opposed to me trying to create something or lead something or be something or do something. And so I think the more I've been doing this work, that life is happening with or without me, with or without my approval, with or without my, you know, and uh, and I've spent years of trying to create it in my fashion, and and maybe other people can do it. I guess they can, and they do, But I don't think they do it if they're not connected to the moment, if they're not present, if they're not out of their conditioned beliefs. I think that some of the folks that have really done amazing things on the planet have done them in the context of service. If they grew a big business, it came out of love. It came out of wanting to serve. If it lasted, if it stayed, if they created an amazing educational facility, like a school, it would have come out of love. If it stayed, if it stuck, if it had, that was the foundation. And I'm reminded of a Bible story where it talks about the man who built his house on sand as opposed to the man who built his house on rock. And the rock that I think the analogy was talking about is the rock of being present, the rock of love, the rock of being here now. And the sand is the idea that we know, and we're building on our own desires or wants or fears. So I can't, sometimes I wonder, what, when I'm doing this, if it's going to make a difference in anybody's life. And I think that I'm not the only one who sometimes wakes up in the morning twisted around. I don't wake up in the morning every day with, oh my gosh, another beautiful morning in paradise. Um, I have demons to deal with, and things that seem to just come out of nowhere. So I'll bet that there's more of out there people like that, and we don't talk about it because it's hard to talk about things that we don't understand or we don't have a solution for, and or that we think we've created or it's our fault or those kind of things. So I know from the work I do in the 12-step world, and I think it's the same everywhere, that people are looking. They're like, what is going on here? You know, life wasn't about what we thought. It wasn't about just getting an education, or it wasn't just about having a family, or those are all great things. It wasn't about, traveling and having peak experiences, although lots of fun. You know, there has to be something else, and something that we can connect to. And so, how do we find that connection? My recipe over and over and over again is not in any particular order, but lifelong learning. I get to hang with the masters because they're all on Audible, and I get to. So lifelong learning is really important. I think that reading books and studying is just an important thing. And then the other thing that I think is, really, really important is service, looking out for others, carrying a message of love for others, and love is an action word. So whatever we're doing, taking the phone calls from people that are going through tough times, and being there for them, being an active listener. So service, and it comes in many, many forms. And meditation, I think, is part of the ingredient of coming to know yourself. And I think it was Socrates who said, "Know thyself," and it's a journey. My gosh, when we start to look at our behaviors and how our behaviors are repeated, and so we try to change them on our own. We can't seem to just change our behaviors, but if we become aware of them, and we could see them sometimes in meditation, but we can see them. We become aware of our behaviors, and we can just focus on them. We just become aware of them. So we bring our attention to them, and with love, and they melt. And some of the behaviors we've talked about recently are complaint. When we catch ourselves in complaint, not to beat ourselves up, but just look at that complaint and say, "Oh, there it is. There's David complaining again." And so I'm basically saying I know better than life, right? And when I'm in complaint, so just to look at it gently and compassionately, and it'll evaporate. And the same with something I talked about yesterday, which is making shit up. Our mind has this just huge desire to know what's going on, and if it doesn't know what's going on, it just makes stuff up. And this is why this happened, and that's why that happened. And we try to, rationalize in our mind why whatever happens, so we make shit up. So when we see ourselves doing that about any particular thing, and we do it about everything. So it's subtle though. We think that's the way to live, but it isn't actually. We're caught in those stories, and those stories are generated out of our beliefs, and our beliefs are generally given to us by our mums and dads who weren't all that happy, or weren't, all that enlightened, and or they're given to us by society, which is often a society in fear. So we make stories up from that place, and so we need to watch those. And complaint comes from those same places. Complaint is part of a story as well. So, what do we know? How about we don't know anything? How about we just be here now, not knowing anything, just saying, "Wow, I don't know shit." And I don't mean that you don't know how to drive to work, or that you don't know how to take care of your finances, or that you don't know how to cook. I'm not talking about those kind of things. I'm talking about the bigger questions, like why are we here, or who are we? And we don't know. So, but look at those questions, because those are the questions that lead us to awakening. Why are we here? What are we? What do we know? Who are we? Those are big questions, and in those questions lie the answer, the moment. And that reminds me, in the area of lifelong learning, my friend Trevor Thibodeau does enlightenment intensives where we actually spend a whole like 3 16-hour days just in the question of tell me who you are. Oh my gosh, it is intense. That's why they call it enlightenment intensive. So that's a, if you really want to find out who you are, I encourage you to get in touch with Trevor and do the enlightenment intensive. And another thing I wanted to mention is that there's a movie coming up called Becoming Nobody, I think, or Being Nobody. And it's about the life of Ram Dass. And it's going to be on the 21st. I'll tag it on here. The 21st of this month at the Grand Theatre. So get your tickets. And it's a one evening show. Some friends are bringing it in. They're sponsoring it. And Ram Dass was an amazing teacher. And quite a story. Okay, that's my bit for today. Love you. And, I don't even know that I don't know. That's funny. Because I sent that question out to some people today. Tell me what you know. What do you know? What do you know for sure? And and a couple of them responded with an answer, and then said, "Well, what do you know for sure?" And the thing is, even that I don't know for sure. Okay, love you guys. If you have a question, or if you want to talk one time, or if you're thinking that you'd like to do like a one-on-one and we just sit down and look at some of the patterns and the behaviors in your life, I'm open to that. And also on Monday nights we have a meditation event, and it's kind of more kind of part meditation, part talk, part question and answers. And it's at the Scarborough United Church on Monday nights at 7 o'clock. Love you guys. Thanks. Bye.